Shalom, all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the bishops and the elders of great millstone that rule well through the scriptures. Peace to the 144,000 and the rest of the hopeful elect. I am the brother Chaya from GMS Indianapolis, the branch of Indiana, the original Gary campus, GMS with Ontario 2. And without further ado, I'm gonna press play. We're gonna watch this video, get some scriptures, Lord willing, is edifying.
And took the box up and started pulling it up. And it was so heavy, it just it broke the winch. And we couldn't get it off the trailer, so we had to leave it on the trailer because it was too heavy. So I was asked by Nick to have a crew go down and unload the container at the other yard.
I got a radio call that from Ron Gillette, the foreman. They said the men were throwing up and there was something really wrong.
One of them fell down and hit me right in front of my feet. And it was opened up, and there it was. And when I came to work the following day, I saw it myself. I couldn't believe it. And just little bitty babies, just all quarter pieces. Their heads chopped off, arms, legs, it makes you want to cry when you see something like that.
Starting at the very front of this container, it was just wall clear to the ceiling and clear to the sides, filled with them.
I really don't want to witness it again. Not what I saw.
Well, as the supervisor for the County of Los Angeles, we found out through the media that 17,000 infants had been stored in a container.
Okay. Yeah, 17. See, and that was then. And I don't know. Well, let's look that up. Let's see. When was that? Because from the video imaging, it looked like maybe 90s, early 2000. Right? Let's just see what they could give me. 17,000. Oh, 82. Los Angeles fetus disposal scandal. All right. The Los Angeles fetus disposal scandal was the 19 of over 16,000 aborted fetuses being improperly stored at Malvin Weisberg's Woodland Hills, California home, and the ensuing legal battle regarding their disposal. Why was this at his home? It was called a national tragedy by then President Ronald Reagan and inspired a song by pop singer Pat Boone. With the fetuses finally buried in 85, 3 years later, no criminal charges. You see this? Were filed against any of the parties involved. Weisberg, what nationality is that person? Has stored the specimens properly, but had not disposed of them due to financial difficulties. See? Hold on. Psalm 73. Verse 4. Matter of fact, I'm starting at 3. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. For there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. How the hell 17,000 supposedly aborted fetuses found in your house, on your property, and nothing? No charge, no crime, no anything. Let's see some more about this. Oh, paying for it with a bounce check. Yeah, they do that. They were storing in formaldehyde. Okay. Oh, then the press lied. Look, the initial press, they say 500 were found. Then it was raised to 2,000. Within a reasonable time for who to determine. It says state law required the fetuses to be cremated or buried. Legal action. Anyway, man, I'm gonna grab this because they'll say what they want to say, but the scriptures tells you their intent. All right. Wisdom of Solomon 12:3. For it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers both those old inhabitants of thy holy land. Who are the old inhabitants of the holy land? The Canaanites, the different ites. All right, from of Ham, and we are not Ham. All right, we are the Israelites. All right, just because people can be dark skinned and live in the same area, they don't have to be the same nation. All right. You the so-called Negroes whom you plucked from the west coast of Africa during slavery, they were there, okay, because they was fleeing Roman persecution from 70 AD onward, or 70 AD and before. All right. And you where the hell was I at? I don't know where I was at. Anyway. Right. They fled Roman persecution. All right. And they made settlements. And that's not the only place where they fled. All right. And they made settlements there. All right. They ain't African. All right. Whom thou hatest for doing most odious works of witchcraft and wicked sacrifices. Odious mean hateful. And also those merciless murderers of children and devourers of man's blood, and devourers of man's flesh, and the feast of blood. And Esau Edom have compounded upon that, all right? The scripture says, what? It became the mistress of witchcraft. Mistress, am I spelling witch right? Mistress is the feminine form of master. All right. So they became the master of witchcraft. And so they adopted and copied the spirituality of all these heathen nations. Nahum 3:4, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot. Who is the well-favored harlot? America. All right. Babylon the Great. The mistress of witchcrafts that selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts. See, you got whole nations and families will be uprooted and behave like America. All right. Let me see what they say for that in the chat real quick. AI. All right. All right. The well-favored harlot or well-favored harlot is a metaphorical description of Nineveh itself, personified as a seductive, attractive woman. That's America. It seduces these people with the ideas of getting rich and having freedoms. The imagery draws from common biblical metaphors where cities or nations engaged in idolatry, immorality, and exploitation are likened to a prostitute. Right. The whore that rides the beast, as the book of Revelation calls it. The whore is America. And the beast are the other white power structured nations, NATO and the EU. Multitude of the whoredoms refers primarily to spiritual harlotry, meaning widespread idolatry and unfaithfulness to the Most High. In the ancient Near East, pagan worship, including Assyrian practices, often involved ritual prostitution and sensuality in temples, where you got OnlyFans, you got Ashley Madison, which Ashley Madison is a website that's dedicated to adultery, right? Even if you just boyfriend and girlfriend and you're not legally married, quote unquote, if a woman cheats on her boyfriend, that's still adultery. But Ashley Madison is for people that are even legally married. So it's iniquity. It says, so it can have a literal dimension too. Nineveh is portrayed as seducing and corrupting other nations through its influence. Mistress of witchcrafts, right? And whoredoms back into the practices, the abortions. All right, what do you think are they doing with those babies? Those different body parts are sold. All right, those different body parts have value. All right, and those different body parts are, those babies themselves are sacrificed. All right, child sacrifice was a very big thing amongst those heathen nations. That's why the Lord told us not to do it. Mistress of witchcrafts or sorceries points to occult practices, divination, magic, and superstition prevalent in Assyrian religion and culture. These were used to manipulate, deceive, and control. Now, when you look up blood libel, right? Blood libel is a centuries-old false. Why is it false? It says, and blah, 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 accusation that those people murder non-people, often Christian, children to use their blood for religious rituals, particularly baking Passover matzah, originated in the Middle Ages. Because what was happening during the Middle Ages, okay? What they call the Dark Ages, but it's the Middle Ages. Those people were getting kicked out of country to country because every country they was going to, they were kidnapping children, draining their blood, torturing them, sacrificing them with the prospects of retaining power. Originated in the Middle Ages, this ritual murder charge has been used to justify violence, torture, and expulsion of Jews. Well, the funny thing is, there is documented cases. Look, famous historical incidents include the murder of William of Norwich, 1144, and the Damascus affair of 1840. While rooted in the medieval period, the trope has evolved to modern. Because here's this other site on BitChute. It's lengthy. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull it up. It's quite lengthy. And they it's almost like a documentary. And they document it, okay? Every single case of why they were expelled and kicked out of these countries, okay? They were killing people, all right, mainly children. I think this is it right here. I knew it was like an hour or something long. But you can watch this right here. All right. It's BitChute, type in blood libel, go there, and it tells you each case, all the way up into one of the guys. They end up, it happened to a duke. So it started happening to the powerful people. You know, dukes and lords and stuff like that. And then they started gaining influence, these people who you can't name, where they were able to pay certain people off. It shows, you watch the documentary, it shows how they gained power over time from being kicked out of these different countries to now they not getting kicked out. They just paying certain people off until now we're at the point where we're at now. See, we'll talk about Michael Vick, right? And we'll talk about Bill Cosby and R. Kelly and Jay-Z and Michael Jackson. But this is a nation of people. This is their righteousness. This is their, you understand that? This is their righteousness to behave and do this and to live like this. Let me see. Psalm 144. Is it Psalm 144? Send thine hand from above, verse 7. Rid me and deliver me out of great waters. Waters represent people. From the hand of strange children, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. All right? Your right hand is what you depend on. Our right hand is Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. It's our go-to. This is their go-to, the wickedness. Now, let's look up. Now, on Oprah, remember this on Oprah? And they put this stuff right in front of you, and it's just like, look at this is a ugly group of people, man. Look at this lady. And they put this stuff out there in the public, and it's like, that's not true.
She says her family has been involved in rituals for generations. She is currently in extensive therapy, suffers from multiple personality disorder, meaning she's blocked out many of the terrifying and painful memories of her childhood. Meet Rachel, who is also in disguise to protect her identity. You come from generations of ritualistic abuse?
Yes, my family has an extensive family tree, and they keep track of who's been involved and who hasn't been involved. And it's gone back to like 1700.
And so you were...
Right. I was born into a family that believes in this.
And this is, does everyone else think it's a nice Jewish family? From the outside, you appear to be a nice Jewish girl?
Definitely.
And you all are worshiping the devil inside the home?
Right. There's other Jewish families across the country. It's not just my own family.
Really? And so who knows about it? Lots of people now.
I talked to a police detective in the Chicago area, and several of my friends know, and I've spoke publicly before.
And so when you were brought up in this kind of evilness, did you just think it was normal?
I've blocked out a lot of the memories I had because of my multiple personality disorder. But yes, I mean, it's like if you grow up with something, you think it's normal. I always thought.
So what kinds of things? You don't have to give us the gory details, but what kinds of things went on in the family?
Well, there would be rituals in which babies would be sacrificed, and you would have to, you know,
Babies.
There were people who bred babies in our family. No one would know about it. A lot of people were overweight, so you couldn't tell if they were pregnant or not, or they would supposedly go away for a while and then come back. The other thing I want to point out, not all Jewish people sacrifice babies. I mean, it's not a very
kind of
thing.
I just want to point that out. It's the first time I heard of any Jewish people sacrificing babies. But anyway, so you witnessed the sacrifice.
Right. When I was very young, I was forced to participate in that, in which I had to sacrifice an infant.
And the purpose of sacrifice is to what? Is to bring you what? What are you sacrificing for?
For power.
For power. See? For power. See? So I just wanted to get that part. Fair use. All right. So Isaiah. All right. These so-called black women are missing by the droves. So-called black children are missing. Children don't even, you know, it's funny. Remember the milk carton? People who come up missing, they put it on the back of a milk carton. You remember you get the pictures in the mail. They'll show you an age progression. Do you know out of all of those, I did the research. I researched how many of those children, how many of those people were found. You know, only about 2 of those people were actually found. Well, all the years of the milk cartons, all the years of you getting a little cardboard piece of mail in your house and they show you, okay, he was abducted or she was abducted at 5 or 6 years old. 10 years later, how they would look, age progression photos. Only 2 cases that they were found. All right. So you tell me. Verse 12, stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries. See, so this is the Lord taunting the wicked because their enchantments and their sorceries got them to this position of power where they're at now, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. But we know they ain't profiting and they not prevailing because they're being exposed. Their downfall is synonymous with their exposure. 2 Thessalonians 2:8 says, and then shall that wicked be revealed and shall be consumed with the spirit of the Lord's mouth and the brightness of his coming. These videos is consuming them with the spirit of the Lord's mouth. We're reading the words of the Lord against this devil. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. And there's more and more signs in the heavens. Jeremiah 10 says, be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. So these monthly prognosticators, they seeing these different signs, these different star alignments, it spells their doom. It spells their defeat. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. When the World War III break out and the Lord returns in the midst of that battle, and you hiding under these bunkers or doing whatever you're doing, all right, you're not going to escape. And those that do escape the fire, you're going to be searched out of those bunkers, like the scripture says, and they shall hunt them from out of the holes of the mountains. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor a fire to sit before it. Yep. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander everyone to his quarter, none shall save thee. Yeah, all these other heathen nations with businesses going back home. Anyway, let's see if it's read that Wisdom of Solomon again. Right? Verse 5, and also those merciless murderers of children and devourers of man's flesh and the feast of blood, right, with their priests out of the midst of their idolatrous crew and the parents that kill with their own hands, souls destitute of help. Yeah, going back to the abortions. All right, those fetuses aren't buried. You got cases of different women that got abortions, and the father was like, well, I at least want to bury my child. Yeah, they got other things. People went undercover with abortion clinics and stuff, buying different body parts. All right. So this is the world that the so-called white man has built with the JEW people at the helm. All right. So let's look at I'll finish that out.
And so,
She said the point though.
were you ever used yourself?
I was molested. I was raped several times.
What you're about to see now is not a conspiracy theory. It is a paper trail. It's victims' testimonies, it's legislative documents, it's corporate press releases, and archived web pages. And when you line them up, asset by asset, you don't get closure on Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. You get a story.
Just reading this comment. Bring back the death penalty. It's insanity to babysit evil. But the demons don't even get arrested. That's insanity too. I read Psalm 73. They are not in trouble as other men.
About eugenics, transhumanism, and a baby farm that the political class suddenly pretends it just discovered. Now look at this place. This is a 10,000-acre compound in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico.
I'm sorry. I want to bring this out too, because there was a group that made a song singing about baby farms that got killed. In the early 90s. And look, based on recent discussions, some listeners have interpreted Live as a hunger strike by the grunge supergroup Temple of the Dog as referring to farming babies. The 91 song featuring Chris Cornell and Eddie Vedder is widely known for his iconic duet and themes of poverty, though the baby farm interpretation is a specific debated fan theory. And I heard this song. Right. Let's read the words. I don't got no. I don't mind stealing bread from the mouths of decadents. Who are the decadent? The rich, the elites. But I can't feed on the powerless when my cup's already overfilled. Yeah. But it's on the table, the fire's cooking, and they're farming babies, and the slaves are all working. Nah, it ain't no damn fan theory, nigga. And then they end up getting killed. They died, like mysteriously. You know how it be when you reveal certain things through these songs. They got all type of I don't know, what is it? A&R, public relations. These devils got no musical talent of their own, but they sit back and judge and critique and review and control what gets released. And some things kind of slip through. It said, and blood is on the table and the mouths are choking, but I'm going hungry. Yeah, I don't mind stealing bread. Okay. See? Anyway.
A bizarre temple-looking building as well as signs of huge underground infrastructure. Now, for decades, Epstein's Zorro Ranch sat there quietly. He was arrested in 2019. He died in August of that year. That was 6.5 years ago. And only now in 2026 does New Mexico's political class decide, hey, maybe we should look into this. Now, the obvious question is, why did they wait until the crime scene could be completely sanitized? On Monday, the New Mexico House of Representatives approved House Resolution 1, creating a special committee, a so-called Truth Commission, to investigate Zorro Ranch and allegations of criminal activity and public corruption tied to that property. Now, the resolution explicitly notes that Zorro Ranch has been the subject of great public concern since at least 2019, and that previous legislatures did nothing. It empowers this committee to hold hearings, compel witnesses, administer oaths, and issue subpoenas. It can operate through the end of 2026. So yes, on paper, this has teeth. They can drag people in under oath and demand documents. The land commissioner has also called for state and federal investigations. But again, Epstein's been dead for over 6 years. So how much physical evidence at this ranch is still untouched? Now here's where things get eyebrow-raising. Less than a week ago, a woman went out to Zorro Ranch and filmed what she saw. Heavy equipment, excavators out on the property, clear signs that the ground had been disturbed before the New Mexico House passed this investigative measure. Watch this.
What you're looking at is the main house, and don't be fooled, it is miles away from the road. Also, to note, there is some digging equipment, and that has not been here when I was here previously. This was the house from a similar angle in November, and it's looking a little different over on this side.
Okay, so ask yourself, if state lawmakers are just now giving themselves subpoena power, but there are excavators on site ahead of that, is this a serious criminal investigation or a cleanup operation with a committee bolted on afterward for show? Especially when we've seen how pathetic the official Epstein investigations have been in the past. Everybody knows Epstein as the sex trafficking billionaire, but at Zorro Ranch, there's another dimension. A decades-long obsession with eugenics, designer babies, cloning, and using this remote compound as a literal baby farm for his own DNA. So for a moment, leave aside the murder, the blackmail, the political connections, and let's look at the mad science. So 10 days before...
This is Second Esdras. All right. 5. Nevertheless, as concerning, that's what it should say. This is a glitch. The tokens, behold, the days shall come that they which dwell upon earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. But iniquity shall be increased above that which now thou seest, or that thou hast heard long ago. See, and at this time, It was so much wickedness that Esdras was witnessing. He damn near fainted. So the angel told him it's going to be more than then, back pre-flood, which brought on the flood. It's going to be worse than that, or your present time. See? So this was happening. This what the elites are doing, people.
Before Epstein died, the New York Times published an article titled, "Jeffrey Epstein hoped to seed human..."
And the wicked are a race of people. All right? Esau, Edom is the wicked. All right? These are not isolated incidents. It is the innate nature of you people. Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, 2 and 4. All right? Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. The scripture says, the wicked are estranged from the womb, meaning, so you're born like that. Everything you say about so-called black people, they're in the low IQ is innate. They can't rise up and be more than what they already are. No, that's true about you. Okay? When we put you in, when the Lord returned, when Yahweh Shai returned and put you in slavery, let's see how many inventions you come up with. And then shall the wicked be revealed. All right. That word wicked is capitalized right here. All right. And what do you capitalize? A proper noun. A proper noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. Yeah, that's you. And I'm about to put this in the chat. And I'm going to ask the chat. I keep saying chat, but it's really the AI for Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm just going to type in why is the word wicked capitalized. Just to see what it say. Think, nigga. See, I said that earlier. Turns it into a proper noun. Right? And it's not an individual. All right? It's a race of people. All right? See, they've been hidden. Great secrecy was always their thing. Right? And now it's been exposed. Okay, that's enough on that.
Race with his DNA. Now, the article quotes multiple scientists and businessmen who say that starting in the early 2000s, Epstein was openly talking about using his New Mexico ranch as a base where women would be inseminated with his sperm and would give birth to his babies. He reportedly envisioned as many as 20 women at a time impregnated at Zorro Ranch. One participant at a 2006 conference remembered Epstein talking about, quote, perfecting the human genome and being fascinated by how traits pass on and wanting to create superior humans. So this isn't internet rumor. This is Epstein talking to award-winning scientists about turning Zorro Ranch into a eugenic-style breeding facility. Then there's the corporate layer. Epstein's Virgin Islands company, Southern Trust, disclosed in filings that it was engaged in DNA analysis. So he gave money to transhumanist organizations like Humanity Plus, and in 2011, one of his charities gave $20,000 to the World Transhumanist Association, which rebranded as Humanity Plus, whose stated goal, by the way, is to influence a new generation of thinkers about humanity's next steps. So his foundation also paid the salary of Humanity Plus Vice Chairman Ben Gortzel. So we have a remote ranch, a stated desire for a baby farm, DNA analysis companies, and cash going to the transhumanist movement. This is not just a rich pervert, this is someone trying to engineer the future of the human species. Now we get to the new Epstein files, emails that show how this baby farm idea connects to actual lab work and real money. Brian Bishop is a Bitcoin developer, biohacker, and self-described mad scientist. And in the released emails, he's pitching Epstein on a designer baby project, talking about human cloning and laying out a funding proposal. In the first email, Bishop sends Epstein a presentation on his designer baby project. He notes that he and a partner have a series of questions about how serious you are about wanting this, quote, "This isn't generic research, it's something additional to Bishop's existing work." He tells Epstein that most of the questions are about Epstein's, quote, "requirements for secrecy and privacy regarding reputational risk and also any financial involvement." He suggests that whatever Epstein wants could be done, quote, "under the banner of my designer babies project, since the other deliverable is similar and shares so many of the same procedures and lab requirements," unquote. So in other words, Epstein doesn't just want to donate to science, he wants secret science. He wants something that requires absolute anonymity. In a later email, Bishop is even more explicit, quote, "sounds like you could be the first investor as long as absolute anonymity is kept," unquote. He says he always envisioned anonymity for the babies, that you can't publicly identify who they are or their parents or their benefactors because it would brand the child as a freak for life. He says the financial structure has to be designed around these secrecy demands. Epstein, the guy who already talked about breeding 20 women at a time at Zorro Ranch, is now being pitched on a designer baby project that needs total anonymity and careful financial structuring. Then we get to the price tag. One email lays out a 5-year plan around $9.5 million in funding. And the goal is to get out of the garage biology phase and reach the first live birth of a human designer baby and possibly a human clone within 5 years, unquote. That's not speculation, that's the language in the email. Live birth of a human designer baby, possibly a human clone. So when Epstein is talking about superior humans and seeding the human race, this isn't just cocktail party rambling. There is a concrete research roadmap being proposed to him. And then there's the geography. In an August follow-up, Bishop updates Epstein. They're proceeding with more mouse testing in my Ukraine lab, which is certain.
Even the stuff that's darker than we think is 100 times darker than we think. Reading the comment.
Quote, unquote. He also says an amateur in Mississippi has been testing human sperm modification. So far, only fluorescent tagging, which doesn't work to my purposes yet, unquote. So now add it up. Okay. Epstein talks about a baby farm at Zorro Ranch starting in the early 2000s. He funds transhumanist causes and DNA analysis companies. He's in email conversations about funding a project to create human designer babies and possibly clones with testing in a Ukrainian lab and secret sperm modification experiments in Mississippi. All of this is happening as late as 2018, 2019, long after his first arrest. This isn't just in the emails. MIT Technology Review ran a piece in early 2019 about a Ukrainian biolab doing exploratory mouse experiments on gene modification ideas tied to do-it-yourself designer babies. The lab was part of Ukraine's state-run Academy of Medical Sciences, and the article reports that Bishop was paying the academy to run those experiments. Now the question becomes, was Epstein the actual money behind this, using Bishop as a front? In the emails, Bishop is obsessed with anonymity and says the investor must be completely hidden. That's exactly what Epstein is demanding. And just months after those emails, what appears to be Bishop's Twitter account is talking about startups that could one day offer designer babies as a service. Quote, "There are startups offering designer babies and human embryo editing right now," unquote. Okay, So you have a transhumanist biohacker, public tweets about designer baby startups, private emails about human clones, and an investor, Jeffrey Epstein, who wants secrecy and a ranch set up as a breeding facility. So now let's bring in a victim side anecdote that lines up disturbingly well. In 2020, Mother Jones published an article where a reporter called people from Epstein's Black Book. One of them, a former art student they called Tracy, had a story. She had been told Epstein funded artists, so she went to his New York townhouse. She says he acted like a gentleman for 2 hours, talking about Dolly, the cloned sheep, and the whole cloning thing. He told her he had a place in New Mexico that already was working on cloning humans. Now the article says, actually, she didn't say New Mexico, she said Mexico. And the article says Mexico, but Epstein's actual scientific playground, the one tied to his eugenics fantasies, is in New Mexico, Zorro Ranch. So it's not hard to imagine a confused memory for that detail. Now, Tracy says that she left when he tried to grope her. But she told the reporter, quote, "You're going to think it's totally crazy, but I bet you he cloned himself. And whoever killed themselves was a clone. I wouldn't put it past that. He's out there somewhere." He said he had a lab in Mexico because the Dolly thing got shut down. So is that provable? No, but it's one more data point. Victims and contacts independently recalling Epstein talking about cloning humans at his off-the-grid facility. Now we get into the most disturbing material, diary entries from a minor included in the latest Epstein files. This minor describes being impregnated by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, referring to, quote, "so many bonding moments with Jeffrey Ghislaine and their baby inside me," unquote. She writes, quote, "I'm tired of keeping this secret." She talks about a superior gene pool. Why me? It makes no sense. Why my hair color and eye color? She explicitly calls Epstein's ideas very Nazi-like, connecting his theories to eugenics. She says she feels like a human incubator, not a person. She describes giving birth, being allowed only 10 to 15 minutes to hold and feed her baby before they took her. "She's mine, I want her back," she writes. That they took the first baby who survived and refers to an earlier miscarriage. The diary even includes a sonogram image, reinforcing that this wasn't just abstract psychological manipulation. There was a real pregnancy, a real child. So when you hear baby farm, this isn't just some outlandish speculative phrase. A minor victim is describing being used as a human incubator for Epstein's, quote, "superior gene pool." So if you're going to run a secretive cloning or designer baby program, you don't do it in the living room. You need infrastructure. There's an email in Epstein's files from the Zorro Ranch manager that looks boring at first. It's basically a punch list of things to inspect or repair. But the locations it mentions are not normal ranch features. The manager references cellar, bathroom, showers, plural. So you have a desert ranch with a cellar, multiple showers down there, and then an entire sub-cellar with wood flooring. Sub-cellar, multiple showers. This isn't just a root cellar for potatoes. It suggests significant underground facilities on a supposedly remote private estate. Drone footage of Zorro Ranch shows about 5 massive vents on the property, big structures that look like air intakes or exhaust stacks or something underground. Watch this.
I think what you're actually seeing in this shot is possibly 3 or more vents to an underground area, possibly more than that. I've looked at some of the footage from different angles, and I think there's at least 5 different vents leading to some underground area. And that dovetails with some of the information that some of the people that actually went to the ranch claim they saw a massive room full of computers underneath the house. And given the size of these vents, there's definitely a lot more than just one room full of massive computers, because you don't need this many vents this far apart for just one room. Even a really large room, even a giant basement, you wouldn't need that many vents. So I think there is a significant underground presence to that facility.
Okay. Put that together with the manager's references to cellars and sub-cellars, and with witness accounts from Epstein victim Maria Farmer, who says Epstein's properties had enormous mechanical rooms, tunnel systems, and rooms filled with computers with hidden cameras everywhere. According to Farmer, those mechanical big rooms were bigger than houses, and every estate had pinhole cameras recording everything. Now, you don't build that kind of underground infrastructure for fun. Now, step back from Zorro Ranch and look at the kind of organizations Epstein attached himself to. One is the Lifeboat Foundation, an NGO that describes itself as dedicated to helping humanity survive existential risks and the misuse of powerful technologies like genetic engineering and AI. Now, Epstein was listed on their site as on the board of financiers. After his arrest, that mention disappeared. When two researchers called Lifeboat and asked about Epstein, the organization tried to claim he did nothing for them and downplayed any association.
Hello.
Hi, is this Lifeboat Foundation?
Yes.
Which are massive, house-sized, underground living spaces.
No, we don't have any actual bunkers. It was just an idea by one of our board members, so we have like one page devoted to it on our site. It's not even like a primary goal of our organization. Our primary goal is to protect humanity against existential risks, and any real serious risk, any bunker on Earth would be insufficient to protect you against it.
Oh, I also see that, it looks like Jeffrey Epstein was on the board here. Did he have some kind of...
No, he's not.
Oh, okay, maybe is that old or something?
Yeah, so again, if you look at our bunker page, it's just a few paragraphs. I don't want to make a big deal out of it.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry. Not trying to make a big deal out of it here. Just was looking up.
Okay, so that's interesting because they had previously advertised him as a financier. Lifeboat also promotes the idea of underground bunkers, life shield bunkers, to protect elites from catastrophic risks. Take a look.
Join our survival colonies. Secure your future in our state-of-the-art underground bunkers.
Okay, so here's the picture. Epstein, the transhumanist donor, the financier, on the financier board group of a group advocating underground bunkers to ride out future disasters. Epstein, whose ranch may have had massive underground facilities and vents. Epstein, who fantasized about seeding a post-catastrophic human race with his own DNA. Now let's jump to the president and the new owner of Zorro Ranch. For years, nobody knew who bought the ranch after it was put on the market following Epstein's death. It finally sold in 2023 via a newly formed LLC, reportedly for far less than the original asking price. Now, on Monday, we learned the buyer, Texas businessman and self-described MAGA Republican Don Huffins. Now, Huffins has been tied to Hest Group, Hest Investments, which is a venture capital firm. Now, archived snapshots of Hest, our team page, lists him as president. But when you go to the page now, it's been scrubbed. No Huffins. Can't be found. Page deleted. Okay, so why does that matter? Because Hest Investment led a $1.8 million SPV investment into a company called Secretome Therapies. In the press coverage, Hest CEO Don Huffins is quoted, "We're thrilled to support Secretome Therapeutics and its mission to revolutionize regenerative medicine." So what does Secretome do? Well, Secretome Therapeutics says it develops regenerative therapies using cells and factors derived from neonatal cardiac tissue. Now, according to their own description, they source cells from ethically consented neonatal cardiac tissue collected during medically necessary surgeries in full-term newborns treated for congenital heart defects.
Wow.
In other words, they conduct research on heart tissue taken from newborn babies under 30 days old. They insist that everything is ethically sourced and properly consented, and there's no evidence contradicting that, but here's the...
Ethically sourced like it's a goddamn non-GMO herb or something.
coincidence. The man funding research on newborn baby heart tissue is also the man who bought Jeffrey Epstein's ranch, the same Zorro Ranch that Epstein wanted to turn into a baby farm to seed humanity with his DNA. Now, Huffins has said he wants to convert Zorro Ranch into a Christian retreat and has talked about this in friendly interviews.
Now, you have plans to take something evil and bring it into goodness, bring it into light and positivity. Tell us about that plan.
Well, of course. That is the main reason I bought the property. This was obviously a dark place, and we wanted to put light in a dark place. It always shines the brightest when you do that. My faith is so strong in Jesus, and it really is. And I'm going to make this. The plan all along is to make this property into a...
Yeah, this nigga don't miss out on his daily dose of adrenochrome.
retreat. Matter of fact, it's under construction today, and that's our goal. That's what what he does and helps people with is healing and being the healer, and also blessing those that are traveling. And we think that's really germane to this property.
Okay, yeah, that's the line. This place of unimaginable abuse and alleged mad science will be reborn as a peaceful retreat center. Okay, maybe that's true. But when you stack it next to everything else, the designer baby emails, the victim diary about being a human incubator, the underground vents, the bunker NGO.
See, that goes back to Psalm 144 and 8, 7 and 8. Deliver me from the wicked, whose right hand is the right hand of falsehood. See how they used Raphael, right? Which Raphael is in the scriptures, right? The book of Tobit. But how did he heal? All right. Did he perform heart surgery, open heart surgery, and stuff like that? No. All right.
And the baby tissue venture, it sounds less like a redemption story and more like the setup to a bad B movie. So what was Zorro Ranch? Put all the numbered assets together, and here's what they suggest, right? Epstein openly talked about using Zorro Ranch to impregnate 20 women at a time and seed the human race with his DNA. He funded transhumanist organizations, DNA analysis companies, and sat on the financier board of a bunker building NGO. Emails show him in talks to finance a $9.5 million program aiming for the first live birth of a human designer baby or clone within 5 years, with mouse testing at a Ukrainian lab and early work on human sperm modification. We have a miner's diary described being impregnated by Epstein, treated as a human incubator for his superior gene pool, and having her baby taken away. The ranch itself appears to have cellars, subcellars, multiple showers underground, and huge vents consistent with large bunker or lab complex, with victims describing enormous mechanical rooms and ubiquitous cameras. And now the property belongs to a political figure backing a company that works with newborn baby heart tissue, while the state of New Mexico, 6.5 years late, suddenly decides it's time for a truth commission to investigate. So you can decide for yourself what was really going on at Epstein Zorro Ranch, but don't let anyone tell you there's nothing to see here. The documents, the emails, the victims, the underground structures, the transhumanist money trail, they all point in one direction. This wasn't just a sex crime hideaway. It looks a lot more like a clandestine lab for engineering the future of humanity, one stolen child at a time. Now, this is the first of our series on Zorro Ranch. We do have another part to this. There was just too much to cover today, but the plot gets darker, and you can look forward to that next week.
Fair use. All right, so with that, Lord's will, this was an edifying lesson to the hopeful elect. All praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah HaKodash, Shalom.